Commander Vix stood at the head of the conference table, his scales flickering through several shades of anxious purple. This was not how he wanted to spend his morning. He had 17 commendations, 3 medals of scientific excellence, and exactly 0 experience dealing with humans. The universe, in its infinite humor, had decided to change that. "Listen up, people," Vix said, pulling up a holographic display that showed a planet covered in swirling blue and green. "In approximately 6 hours, we will be receiving our first human crew member. I expect everyone to review the safety protocols." Cora, the station's engineer, raised 3 of her 7 hands. All 14 of her eyes blinked in sequential panic. "Commander, I have reviewed the protocols twice. Then I reviewed them again because I thought I was having a stress-induced hallucination. Are we certain this is a good idea?" "The Galactic Council assures us that this human has been thoroughly vetted," Vix replied, though his tail twitched in a way that suggested he found the Council's assurances about as reliable as a screen door on a spaceship. Thelman, the station medic, scrolled through his datapad with the enthusiasm of someone reading his own death certificate. "According to this report, humans come from a Class 12 death world." Class 12. For context, the worst planet any of us have visited was Class 6, and Jorvik still has nightmares about the plants. Jorvik, head of security, nodded grimly. The plants had teeth. They should not have had teeth. "Earth," Thelman continued, warming to his subject in the way only a truly pessimistic medic could, "has weather patterns that can level cities, animals that can kill you in under 3 minutes, plants that cause agony with a simple touch, and water that falls from the sky with such force it can erode mountains. Humans evolved to survive all of this. They are persistence predators who used to chase prey until it died of exhaustion. They can survive without sleep for days, heal from injuries that would kill most species, and they are, according to this footnote, somehow allergic to their own planet, but live there anyway." There was a long silence. Somewhere a ventilation system hummed. "So what you are saying," Cora said slowly, "is that we are about to host an unkillable nightmare creature that hunted its food to death through sheer stubbornness." "The technical term is Death Worlder," Vix corrected. "But yes, essentially." Jorvik pulled up a training video on his terminal. "I have been watching instructional materials on human combat techniques. Did you know they have something called mixed martial arts? It is called mixed because they could not decide which method of violence they liked best, so they combined all of them. I have prepared the medical bay for every possible scenario," Thelman added helpfully. "I have also prepared my resignation letter, but I will wait to see if I survive the week before submitting it." Vix's scales had gone from purple to a sort of grayish mauve that indicated he was reconsidering his career choices. "The human's name is Dr. Marcus Webb. He specializes in xenobiology and has been assigned to study our recent discoveries in the Kepler system. According to his file, he is, and I quote, highly qualified and personable." "Personable," Cora repeated. "What does personable mean for a species that evolved to stare down megafauna?" "I assume it means he will be polite before he kills us," Jorvik said. "Nobody is killing anyone," Vix said, with more confidence than he felt. "We are professionals. We have handled dangerous situations before. We simply need to follow protocol, maintain appropriate boundaries, and remember that humans are sentient beings deserving of respect, not prey animals to be feared." His entire crew stared at him with expressions that clearly said they would rather take their chances with the prey animals. "6 hours, people," Vix said. "Get ready, and somebody seal the biolab. If the human gets in there, I do not want to know what happens." As the crew filed out, each lost in their own anxious thoughts, none of them realized that their preparations were entirely beside the point. You cannot prepare for humans. You can only hold on and hope they like you. The docking bay airlock hissed open with the kind of dramatic flair usually reserved for visiting dignitaries or biological contaminants. Commander Vix and his crew stood in a formal receiving line, dressed in their best uniforms, standing at perfect attention. They had reviewed proper greeting protocols 3 times. They were ready. They were not ready. Dr. Marcus Webb stepped through the airlock drinking from a travel mug that read, "I am not arguing, I am just explaining why I am right," in cheerful block letters. He was wearing cargo shorts. Cargo shorts. to a deep space research station where the ambient temperature was carefully controlled at 18 degrees Celsius. He also wore a shirt covered in small, colorful flowers and birds, and on his feet were shoes that appeared to be held on by sheer optimism and 2 rubber straps. "Hey there," Marcus said, raising his mug in greeting. "You must be Commander Vix. Dude, this station is awesome. I saw it from the shuttle and I was like, no way, that is straight out of a sci-fi movie. Which I guess makes sense because this is actual sci-fi. Wild." Vix stared. His prepared speech about protocol and station regulations evaporated from his mind like water on a hot surface. Yes, welcome to Outpost Kepler-9. We are pleased to, Sweet, thanks, man." Marcus walked up and offered his hand. Vix looked at it like it might explode. "Oh, right, handshake, human thing. We clasp hands and shake them. It is a greeting. Originally, it was to show we were not carrying weapons, but now it is just polite." Vix tentatively extended his clawed hand. Marcus grabbed it and shook with enthusiastic vigor. "Great grip. Okay, so who do we have here?" He moved down the line before anyone could stop him. "You must be Cora. Love the eyes, very Argus Panoptes vibes. That is a Earth mythology reference. Dude had 100 eyes. And you are?" He squinted at Thelman's name badge. "Thelman. Medic, nice. Hope I do not need you, but good to know where to find you. And Jorvik. Security, excellent. Hey, any chance you guys have a gym on this station? I brought resistance bands, but it is not the same." The crew exchanged glances. This was the apex predator. This man who spoke like he was ordering coffee. "Dr. Webb," Vix managed. "If you would follow me, I will show you to your quarters and we can discuss the safety protocols. Call me Marcus, man. Dr. Webb is my dad and he is a dentist, so that gets confusing." Marcus hefted a duffel bag over his shoulder. "Lead the way. Oh hey, before I forget, I brought snacks from Earth. Fair warning, some of them are spicy. I did not know what the tolerance would be for different species, so I brought a variety. Got some beef jerky, trail mix, chocolate, couple bags of chips. The spicy chips are labeled. Do not eat those if you are not sure about capsaicin tolerance." "Capsaicin?" Cora asked nervously. "Yeah, it is the chemical that makes peppers spicy. Humans love it. We put it on our food on purpose, even though it technically causes pain. It is a whole thing." Thelman made a note on his datapad that probably read something like, "Species deliberately ingest pain-causing chemicals for enjoyment. Recommend immediate psychological evaluation." As they walked through the station's corridors, Marcus provided running commentary on everything he saw. "Oh man, is that a Helix 9000 scanner? Those are top of the line. We had one at the university, but it kept breaking down. Nice gravity plating. Feels just like home. What is the atmospheric composition here? Pretty standard nitrogen-oxygen mix? Cool, cool." Jorvik leaned toward Vix. "Commander, I do not understand. Where is the dangerous predator? This human acts like he is on vacation." "I have no idea," Vix whispered back. "Perhaps this is a psychological tactic. Lull us into complacency before striking." "I can hear you guys," Marcus called over his shoulder. "Predator thing, right? Yeah, I read the brief about how Earth is classified as a death world and humans are supposed to be all scary. Look, I get it. Our planet is kind of intense, but most of us are pretty chill. I am just here to study your xenobiology samples and maybe make some friends. Speaking of which, anybody here play chess, or whatever the space equivalent is?" They reached his quarters, which Vix had ensured were spacious and comfortable. Marcus dropped his bag and looked around with genuine appreciation. "Okay, this is nice. Way better than my apartment back on Earth. That place had a radiator that sounded like a dying walrus. Do you guys have dying walruses here? Never mind, different conversation. So, when do I get to see the lab?" "Tomorrow," Vix said quickly. "Today you should rest and acclimate." "Rest? I slept on the shuttle. I am ready to go." Marcus pulled a tablet from his bag. "I have been reviewing your recent findings on the Kepler-9 moon samples, and I have some theories about the bacterial colonies you found. Also, I need to set up my workstation. I have very specific coffee requirements. It is non-negotiable." As Marcus unpacked his belongings, which included an alarming number of colorful socks, a small plant, and a photograph of what appeared to be a small carnivore, Vix and his crew slowly backed out of the room. "He seems nice," Cora offered. "That is what worries me," Vix replied. 3 days into Marcus's residency, and the crew of Outpost Kepler-9 had almost relaxed. Marcus had not killed anyone. He had not even been rude. He drank alarming amounts of coffee, told terrible jokes, and treated the multi-million credit research equipment with casual competence. Vix was beginning to think that maybe, just maybe, the reports about Deathworlders were exaggerated. The universe hates optimism. The alarm started at 0300 station time. Vix bolted upright in his quarters, his scales flashing bright red in alarm as the emergency klaxon wailed through the corridors. His communicator crackled to life with Jorvik's voice, pitched higher than usual. "Commander, we have a breach in Biolab 3. Repeat, breach in Biolab 3. It is a Vrecken." Vix felt his blood turn cold. "A what?" "A Vrecken, sir. Class 7 predator, highly aggressive, acid-based saliva, multiple fatality records across the sector." Vix was running before Jorvik finished speaking, pulling on his uniform as he sprinted toward the command center. A Vrecken. On his station. The creatures were native to Volcar Prime, another death world, and they were the reason that planet had a permanent quarantine order. They were 3 meters of muscle, claws, and bad attitude. They had been known to tear through reinforced hull plating. They hunted in packs on their home world, taking down prey 10 times their size, and one was loose on his station. The command center was chaos. Cora had pulled up every security camera feed, her 14 eyes tracking different screens simultaneously. Thelman was already preparing the medical bay for casualties. Jorvik was coordinating the emergency lockdown protocols. "Report," Vix snapped. "The Vrecken was in stasis for study," Jorvik said, pulling up the relevant feeds. "Some idiot researcher from the last crew left the containment field on a timer instead of a permanent lock. It woke up 30 minutes ago and breached the lab. Currently, it is stalking corridor C7, heading toward the residential sections. Evacuate everyone to the safe rooms. Now." "Already in progress, sir. Everyone is accounted for except—" Jorvik paused, his face going pale. "Except Dr. Webb." "Where is he?" Cora pulled up another camera feed. "Cafeteria. He is making a sandwich." Sure enough, there was Marcus, standing at the cafeteria counter at 3 in the morning, constructing what appeared to be a very elaborate sandwich. He was humming to himself, completely oblivious to the fact that an apex predator was 3 corridors away and closing. "Get him on comms now," Vix ordered. Static. The localized comms in the cafeteria were not responding. Interference from the alarm system. "Sir, the Vrecken has changed direction," Cora said, her voice tight. "It is heading toward the cafeteria. It must have picked up his scent." They watched in horror as Marcus, still humming, added what appeared to be an inadvisable amount of some kind of sauce to his sandwich. On another screen, the Vrecken moved with terrifying speed through the corridors. It was massive, covered in dark scales that gleamed under the station lights. Its mouth was full of serrated teeth and its eyes glowed with predatory intelligence. "Can we seal the cafeteria?" Vix demanded. "Not without trapping Dr. Webb inside with it," Jorvik said. "Then seal every other corridor. Contain them both. Prepare a security team with tranquilizer weapons." "Sir, tranquilizers do not work on Vreckens. Their metabolism processes drugs too quickly." "Then what do we do?" Nobody had an answer. They watched the feeds in silence. The Vrecken entered the corridor leading to the cafeteria. Marcus took a bite of his sandwich and nodded to himself, apparently satisfied. The Vrecken was 50 meters away. 40. 30. "I cannot watch this," Thelman muttered. Marcus turned around, sandwich in hand, and froze. The Vrecken stood in the cafeteria doorway, its head nearly touching the ceiling. Its lips pulled back in a snarl that exposed every one of its teeth. A low growl emanated from its chest, the kind of sound that evolution had designed to trigger the freeze response in prey animals. "Oh," Marcus said, clearly visible on the camera feed. "Hey there, buddy." "Buddy," Cora whispered. "Did he just call a Vrecken buddy?" Marcus held out his sandwich. "You hungry? You look hungry. It is 3 a.m., which is a weird time to be awake, but I get it. Sometimes you just need a snack." The Vrecken took a step forward. Its claws scraped against the floor plating. Acid dripped from its jaws, sizzling where it hit the ground. Marcus did not run. He did not scream. He set down his sandwich on the counter and made a clicking noise with his tongue. Hey, it is okay. You were just confused, right? Woke up in a weird place, everything smells strange. That is stressful. I get it. What is he doing? Jorvik asked. I think, Vic said slowly, he is trying to calm it down. That is insane. You cannot calm down a Reckon. But Marcus was doing exactly that. He kept making the clicking noises, holding his hands out in a non-threatening gesture. The Reckon's growl lowered in pitch. Its posture shifted slightly, from attack-ready to uncertain. That is right, Marcus continued, his voice steady and calm. Nobody here wants to hurt you. We are all just trying to figure this out together. You are probably scared. New place, lots of weird sounds. But you are safe, I promise. He took a step forward. Sir, he is approaching it, Cora said, unnecessarily. Marcus moved slowly, telegraphing every motion. The Vrecken watched him with those glowing eyes, its head tilting slightly. Marcus reached out, moving his hand toward the creature's massive head. Do not do it, Jorvik whispered to the screen. Do not do it. Marcus's hand made contact with the Vrecken's scales. The creature went completely still. Marcus scratched behind what might have been its ear, making more soft, clicking sounds. The Vrecken's eyes closed. Its growl transformed into something that almost sounded like a purr. Good boy, Marcus said, and the crew of Outpost Kepler-9 watched in stunned silence as a Class 7 apex predator, a creature that had terrorized multiple star systems, leaned into a human's touch like an oversized puppy. Yeah, you are just a big softy, are you not? All that scary stuff is just for show. I am going to call you Mittens. The command center had become a gathering place for every crew member who was not actively cowering in their quarters. They watched the security feeds in silence as Marcus sat on the cafeteria floor, sharing his sandwich with 300 kilograms of apex predator. Mittens, as the Reckon was now apparently named, was lying down with its head in Marcus's lap, making contented rumbling noises while Marcus scratched behind its auditory ridges. I need someone to explain to me, Vic said, his voice very quiet and very controlled. What exactly I just witnessed. The human has somehow befriended a Vrecken, Cora said, stating the obvious because someone had to, which should not be possible, which is, in fact, documented as impossible. Get him on comms, Vix ordered. I need answers. A moment later, Marcus's cheerful voice came through the speakers. Hey, Commander. Sorry about the radio silence earlier. I think the alarm system was messing with the signals. What is up? What is up? Vix repeated. What is up? There is a Reckon loose on my station and you are petting it. Oh yeah, Mittens. He is actually super sweet once you get past the whole murder creature exterior. He was just scared. Woke up in a weird place, did not know where he was. Classic stress response. Dr. Webb, that creature has killed trained soldiers. It is one of the most dangerous predators in known space. You should be dead right now. I mean, statistically, a lot of things should have killed me by now. I grew up in Australia. Everything there is venomous. You just learn to read body language and respect boundaries. Same principle applies here. Thelman leaned toward the comm panel. Dr. Webb, this is Thelman. As the station medic, I need to ask, are you experiencing any symptoms of cognitive impairment? Confusion? Unusual fearlessness? Possible exposure to neurological toxins? I am fine, Doc, I promise. Look, can I bring Mittens to somewhere more comfortable? This floor is not great for sitting, and I think he is getting cold. Do you guys have like a cargo bay or something we can use? Vix looked at his crew. His crew looked back. Nobody had any idea what to do. Cargo bay too, Vix said finally. But I want a security team present and I want a full explanation. 20 minutes later, they had assembled in Cargo Bay 2. Mittens was curled up on a pile of thermal blankets that Marcus had requisitioned, looking for all the world like a terrifying space cat. Marcus sat cross-legged nearby, drinking coffee from his travel mug. The crew maintained what they hoped was a safe distance, which was to say as far away as possible while still being in the same room. Okay, Vic said. Explain. Marcus took a sip of coffee. Right. So, Earth has a lot of predators. Like a lot. We have apex predators on every continent. Big cats, bears, wolves, crocodiles, sharks, you name it. And humans are not the biggest or the strongest or the fastest. We are not even particularly well armed, physically speaking. No claws, no fangs, no venom, no armor. So how did we survive? Persistence hunting, Jorvik said. We read the reports. Yeah, that is part of it. But there is another strategy that humans developed. We made friends with the predators. Silence. You what? Cora asked. We domesticated them. We took wolves, which are pack hunters that can take down prey way bigger than themselves, and we turned them into dogs. We took wildcats and made them into house cats. We looked at horses, which are prey animals that can kick hard enough to shatter bones, and decided to ride them. Humans have this weird compulsion to befriend literally everything. We keep venomous snakes as pets. We swim with sharks. There are people who have befriended wild bears. We cannot help ourselves. That is the most psychotic survival strategy I have ever heard, Thelman said. It works though. Humans learned really early that if you understand animal behavior, you can usually find a way to coexist peacefully. Dogs helped us hunt. Cats kept our grain stores free of rodents. Horses let us travel farther. We built our entire civilization on the back of interspecies cooperation. But reckons are not dogs, Vix protested. They are killing machines. So were wolves. Look, I am not saying every animal can be befriended, but most aggressive behavior comes from fear or hunger. Mittens was scared. He woke up in a strange place, surrounded by unfamiliar smells and sounds. His stress hormones were probably off the charts. I just showed him that I was not a threat and gave him space to calm down. Once he realized nobody was going to hurt him, he relaxed. The first one slipped on the cooking oil Marcus had spread across the floor. He went down hard, cursing. The second one reached to help him and triggered a tripwire. A storage container, pushed by a carefully rigged magnetic pulse, slammed into him from the side. "What is happening?" the lead pirate shouted into his comm. From the shadows came a sound, a low, rumbling growl. Mittens emerged from a side corridor, and Marcus had done something absolutely insane. He had strapped pieces of reflective metal to the Reckon's scales. In the strobing lights, Mittens looked like a demon. The pirate raised his weapon. "Mittens, fetch," Marcus called out. The Reckon lunged, not to kill, just like they had practiced with the storage containers. But the pirate did not know that. He screamed and fired wildly, missing completely, as 300 kilograms of apex predator tackled him and pinned him to the ground. Mittens gently, almost delicately, removed the weapon from his hand and carried it back to Marcus like a prize. "Good boy," Marcus said, appearing from around a corner eating chips. Actually eating chips. Like this was a casual afternoon. The pirates stared. One of them raised his weapon toward Marcus. Marcus did not move. He just smiled and took another bite. Mittens snarled. "You want to rethink that?" Marcus asked conversationally. The pirate lowered his weapon. Over the next 10 minutes, the Ravager clan hardened criminals who had terrorized dozens of systems were systematically routed by a combination of booby traps, psychological warfare, a death metal soundtrack, and one very good boy who really enjoyed his new fetch game. 3 pirates slipped on oil and got tangled in magnetic netting. 2 more triggered flashbang-style chemical reactions that Thelman had rigged up. One made the mistake of trying to access the medical bay and found himself locked in with a Reckon who had been taught that intruders meant playtime. The lead pirate, backing toward the airlock with his remaining crew, found Marcus blocking his path. Mittens sat beside him, casually cleaning his claws. "Here's the deal," Marcus said. "You are going to leave. You are going to tell everyone you meet that Outpost Kepler-9 is protected. You are going to strongly suggest that nobody else tries this. Because if they do, next time I will not call off my friend here. We clear?" The pirate looked at Marcus. He looked at Mittens. He looked at his crew, half of whom were groaning on the floor. He nodded very, very slowly. "Crystal clear, human." "Fantastic. Have a terrible day." The pirates scrambled back to their ship, the docking clamps released. The ship accelerated away at a speed that suggested they were very eager to be literally anywhere else. Marcus turned off the death metal. The silence was deafening. "Did we just win?" Cora asked over the comm. "We just won," Marcus confirmed. "Nobody hurt badly, right, Thelman?" "Just bruises and wounded pride," the medic confirmed. Vic slumped in his command chair. "Dr. Webb, that was the most unorthodox defensive strategy I have ever witnessed." "Humans are good at unorthodox," Marcus said. "Also, Mittens deserves all the credit. He was amazing. Yes, you were. Such a good boy." The formal inquiry from the Galactic Council arrived 3 days later. Commander Vic sat in his office, staring at the communication with the kind of exhausted resignation that came from explaining human behavior to bureaucrats who had never met one. The message was polite but firm. They wanted a full report on the incident with the Ravager clan. They wanted to know how a research station with minimal defenses had repelled a pirate raid. They wanted detailed accounts of all personnel actions during the crisis. Vix began typing his report. He got 3 sentences in before he stopped, deleted everything, and started over. He did this 4 times. How exactly did one explain that a human had turned their research station into a combination of a horror movie and a slapstick comedy? How did he convey that the same human had befriended a Class 7 predator and was currently teaching it to do tricks? How could he possibly make any of this sound reasonable? He settled for the facts. Just the facts. Bare minimum detail. He definitely did not mention the death metal or the cooking oil or the fact that Marcus had literally eaten chips during a combat situation. He submitted the report and immediately poured himself a drink. It was 0900 station time. He did not care. In the rec room, the rest of the crew was having a similar crisis of understanding. They sat around the common table, watching through the window as Marcus played with Mittens in the observation bay. The human had brought toys from Earth. Actual dog toys. For a Vrecken. "I have been thinking," Cora said, breaking the silence. "Humans are not scary because they are violent." "We know," Jorvik said. Marcus explained the whole friendship thing. "No, I mean, yes, but it is more than that. Humans are scary because they make everything else work for them. They do not conquer through strength. They conquer through adaptation and stubbornness and sheer psychological manipulation. They turned their predators into companions. They turned their environment's hostility into motivation. And now Marcus has turned our crisis into whatever this is." Through the window, they watched as Marcus threw a ball made of compressed ration packaging. Mittens, who could have torn through reinforced bulkheads, bounded after it with all the grace of a puppy, her 4 eyes tracking the makeshift toy with intense focus. "He weaponized friendship," Zick whispered, mandibles clicking in what might have been awe or horror. "Against pirates, it worked. The Ravagers are still sending him messages," Vic said, walking into the rec room with his drink. "I checked the communications log. They keep asking him for recipes." Everyone turned to stare at him. "Recipes," Vix repeated. "Specifically, they want to know how to make nachos and the spicy thing that made Krell cry, but in a good way. I have been in Galactic Navy for 15 years. I have seen border disputes, territorial conflicts, trade wars. I have never seen a human turn enemy combatants into a cooking club." Dr. Yenna, who had been quiet until now, set down her datapad. "I've been analyzing Marcus's behavior patterns since he arrived, running them against our xenopsychology databases." "And?" Cora asked. "And humans don't have a threat assessment mode like we do. They have what I can only describe as a problem-solving mode that activates under stress. But their definition of solving is remarkably flexible. When we see a threat, we calculate fight or flight. When humans see a threat, they apparently calculate options we haven't even evolved to consider." Marcus reached over and scratched Mittens under the chin. The Vrecken made a sound like a diesel engine running on low power. "Plus, I used to volunteer at an animal sanctuary back on Earth. We had a lot of big predators that had been rescued from bad situations. You learn to read their body language. Mittens here was displaying classic fear aggression, not actual predatory behavior. His pupils were dilated, his tail was tucked, and his growl had a higher pitch than a hunting growl would. He was scared, not hungry." "You could tell all of that?" Jorvik asked, incredulous. Predator behavior is pretty universal across species. It is all about threat assessment and energy conservation. Mittens did not want to fight. Fighting is dangerous and takes a lot of energy. He just wanted to feel safe. Cora raised several hands. I have a question. Does this mean humans have a compulsion to befriend dangerous creatures? Oh, absolutely, Marcus said cheerfully. It is a whole thing. There are videos on Earth's internet of people befriending everything from lions to octopi. We have a saying, if it exists, someone has tried to pet it. That explains so much about human behavior, Vix muttered. Here is the thing, Marcus continued. Humans are not scary because we are violent. Lots of species are violent. We are scary because we will look at something that can kill us and think, but what if we were friends, though? We turned our predators into our partners. That is why Earth is so dangerous. We did not conquer it through strength. We did it through stubbornness and social bonding. Mittens yawned, displaying a mouth full of serrated teeth, and then rested his head on Marcus's leg. So, Marcus said, can we keep him? I think he would be really useful for the xenobiology research. Plus, he is a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. The crew of Outpost Kepler-9 looked at each other. They had signed up to study the cosmos. Nobody had mentioned anything about humans adopting Class 7 predators. I need to think about this, Vix said weakly. Cool. In the meantime, does anyone have, actual meat? Mittens is probably hungry, and I do not think sandwiches are going to cut it for a carnivore his size. Life on Outpost Kepler-9 had entered what could only be described as the new weird normal phase. Mittens had become a fixture around the station, following Marcus like an oversized, occasionally terrifying shadow. The crew had stopped screaming when they saw him, which Vix considered progress. Marcus had rigged up a sort of harness so Mittens could help move heavy equipment. The Reckon seemed to enjoy having a job. It was, Vix reflected, the strangest thing he had ever seen, and he once witnessed a supernova up close. The distress call came in at 1400 hours, interrupting what had become the crew's daily ritual of watching Marcus teach Mittens to play fetch with storage containers. Commander, Jorvik said from the communications station, his voice tight. We have a priority alert. Ship inbound, not responding to hails. They just broadcasted on open channels. It is the Ravager clan. Every crew member in the command center went very still. The Ravager clan was not a formal military organization. They were pirates, slavers, and general menaces to civilized space. They were also phenomenally violent. The last research station they hit, nobody survived long enough to send a full distress call. They took what they wanted and destroyed the rest. How long until they reach us? Vix asked, his scales going pale. 20 minutes, maybe less if they go to combat speed. Can we run? Not faster than them. Their ship is a retrofitted military cruiser. We are a research station. Vix's mind raced through options. The station had minimal defenses. They had been designed to study stellar phenomena, not fight off pirate raids. They had 6 crew members, one of whom was a human who was currently sitting on the floor of the cargo bay playing with an apex predator. Wait, get Marcus up here, Vix said. Now. 3 minutes later, Marcus jogged into the command center, Mittens padding along behind him. Hey, Jorvik said something about pirates? That seems bad. The Ravager clan is inbound, Vix said. They will be here in 15 minutes. Our defenses are minimal. Our options are extremely limited. And I'm about to ask you something that goes against every regulation I have ever followed. He took a breath. Can you help us? Marcus's expression shifted. The easygoing humor faded, replaced by something sharper. Yeah, I can help. What have we got to work with? Very little. Some basic security equipment, the station's internal systems, and whatever is in your extremely creative human brain. Marcus grinned. It was not a nice grin. Okay, here is what we are going to do. The next 12 minutes were organized chaos. Marcus moved through the station like a man possessed, and the crew scrambled to keep up with his instructions. He had Cora reroute the internal speakers to maximum volume. He had Thelman pull every volatile chemical compound from the medical bay. Jorvik was tasked with setting up motion sensors in key corridors and linking them to the lighting systems. What is your plan? Vix asked, jogging to keep pace as Marcus raided the cafeteria. Psychological warfare, Marcus said, grabbing bottles of cooking oil. These guys are expecting an easy target. We are going to make them think they stumbled into a nightmare. Humans did not become apex predators through strength, Commander. We did it through creativity and the willingness to be absolutely unhinged when threatened. The Ravager ship docked with a heavy clang. Vix pulled up the external cameras and felt his blood run cold. There were 12 of them. 12 heavily armed, heavily armored pirates. They were Krygons, a species known for their size and aggression. Each one was nearly 2.5 meters tall. They cut through the airlock like it was paper. "Showtime," Marcus whispered. He tapped his communicator. "Cora, hit it." Death metal erupted through every speaker on the station, and not just any death metal. Earth death metal, the kind with guttural screaming and guitars that sounded like someone torturing machinery. The Ravagers flinched, their translator units struggling to make sense of what they were hearing. The pirates moved cautiously into the first corridor. The lights went out. Motion sensors triggered, and when the lights came back on, they were strobing in disorienting patterns. The pirates' thermal imaging would be useless. Their audio sensors were already compromised by the music. "Like adopting the threat," Jorvik said flatly. "Like adopting the threat," Yenna confirmed. "Or feeding it, or making it laugh. Or, and I cannot stress this enough, befriending it while simultaneously ensuring it knows that friendship is the only safe option." Through the window, Marcus had somehow gotten Mittens to sit. He was giving her treats, actual meat from the station's protein synthesizer that he'd requisitioned. When the Reckon performed the command correctly, he'd celebrate with what humans apparently called baby talk, his voice rising several octaves. "Who's a good apex predator? Yes, you are. Yes, you are." The entire crew winced in unison. "I need you all to understand something," Vic said heavily. "The Council is sending an inspection team." The room went silent, except for the faint sound of Marcus's voice through the intercom. "Okay, girl, now we're gonna work on Play Dead, which is hilarious because you're actually a terrifying murder machine." "When?" Cora asked. 2 weeks. They want to interview everyone, especially Marcus. And Vix took a long drink. "They want to observe his integration methodology with the Vrecken. They're going to think we've lost our minds," Jorvik said. "Have we?" Zik asked. "Has anyone checked? Because I'm starting to think the human is contagious." As if on cue, Marcus's voice came over the intercom. "Hey, Commander, Mittens and I are going to need the cargo bay tomorrow. I'm teaching her an agility course. Also, do we have any PVC piping? I need to make tunnels. Oh, and can someone help me reprogram the training drones? I want to set up a game of fetch that's like advanced." Vix pressed his face into his hands. "I'm going to lose my command." "Look on the bright side," Cora offered. "At least the pirates are gone." "The pirates are pen pals now," Vix moaned. "That's somehow worse." Dr. Yenna pulled up a holographic display. "Actually, I've been monitoring the local sector's communication networks. Since the incident, pirate activity in this region has dropped by 47%. Everyone looked at her. I think word got out about what happened here. The Ravager clan has been telling the story. They're calling Marcus the human who makes friends, and apparently that's terrifying to other criminals." "Why would that be terrifying?" Jorvik asked. "Because," Yenna said slowly, "if you can't predict whether a human will fight you or befriend you, and both options might result in you either dead or emotionally compromised, that's a level of psychological warfare most species aren't equipped to handle." Zik started laughing. It was a chittering, slightly unhinged sound. "We hired a human for cultural exchange and accidentally created the most effective defense system in the sector." "He's not a defense system," Vix said weakly. "He's a xenoanthropologist." "He's a what now?" The voice came from the doorway. They all turned to see Marcus standing there, Mittens sitting obediently beside him, her tail wagging, which was disturbing because Reckons didn't have tails. She'd apparently grown so comfortable that her combat tendrils had relaxed into something approximating friendliness. Marcus was holding his datapad and grinning. "You guys are talking about me, aren't you? I heard my name like 15 times on my way here. We were just discussing the council inspection, Vic said carefully. Oh, cool. I've been preparing a presentation. See, I realized that what happened with the Ravagers is actually a perfect case study in applied xenosocial dynamics. I've got slides and everything. Want to see? No, everyone said in unison. Marcus's grin didn't waver. I'm going to show you anyway. Okay, so slide 1 is titled, Why Everyone Needs a Friend, Even Murder Pirates. Slide 2 is, Marcus, Vix interrupted. I need you to understand something. The Council is not going to see what happened here as a triumph of cultural exchange. They're going to see it as a bizarre anomaly. Commander buddy, friend pal, Marcus said, walking over and putting a hand on Vix's shoulder. The commander flinched. Everything about humans is a bizarre anomaly, but we're useful bizarre anomalies. You know what I think? I think the Council is scared. Scared of what? Scared that I've accidentally proven that their entire approach to hostile species is wrong. For centuries, you guys have been doing the whole might makes right thing. Build bigger ships, deploy more weapons, establish dominance. But humans? We figured out that most fights are just misunderstandings with violence attached. The Ravagers attacked us, Cora pointed out. Yeah, because they thought we'd be easy targets. But once they realized okay, fine, I wasn't going to play by their rules, they had to reassess. And in that reassessment, they found out that maybe having friends is better than having enemies. Plus, my cooking is really good. Mittens made a sound that might have been agreement. It was a low, rumbling purr that vibrated through the floor. Marcus beamed at her. See, even she gets it. Vic stood up, finished his drink in one long swallow, and looked Marcus directly in the eyes. When the Council gets here, please, I am begging you, do not adopt them. I make no promises, Marcus said cheerfully. But I'll bring snacks. Everyone's friendlier with snacks. As he walked out, Mittens trotting faithfully behind him, the crew sat in stunned silence. Finally, Jorvik spoke. We're either going to be famous or court-martialed. Why not both? Zik suggested. Vix poured another drink. It was going to be a long 2 weeks.